state your name first and last and what you do and then clap.
Valerie Diedrich, certified indoor environmentalist.
Valerie, how do you spell your name, please, just so I make sure I have it right?
Valerie, Valerie, Diedrich, Diedrich.
Great. Perfect. So as we spoke about earlier, we're going to have you answer in full sentences. And if we need to do any retakes, if you feel like, oh, I didn't get it right, let's just try again. That's okay too.
Okay.
Feel free to do that. And the first question we're going to talk about is you're going to tell us a little about your inspection background. So you're going to talk about years in business, your expertise. I understand attics are kind of your thing, so we can talk a little bit about that. But whenever you're ready, you can let us know about your inspection background.
I became a certified mold inspector in 2014, and after I was just a solo inspector doing my thing mostly for real estate transactions or indoor air quality cases for residential homes. And I met a couple other inspectors that liked the way I conducted my inspections and allowed them the freedom to do things the right way that we all agreed on. So we did that for about a year, and the guys came to me one day and we needed to have a meeting that when we would do an inspection and make a recommendation of what needed to be done to the home to make things right, correct any problems with moisture, humidity, and then clean up the mold problem, their clients were coming back with more questions and confusion and problems when they went out into the remediation world to find someone to help them. So a perfect example of this is we had a case where a woman had dark colored mold on drywall in her basement near her furnace, and it was a large area of the wall. So my inspector, through air quality sampling, had determined it was Stachybotrys mold, and the air quality was not good in the basement. There was a high spore count. However, on the main floor and upper floor of the home, everything looked normal, which is how that usually works. The spores are very wet and heavy, and they're not being circulated to other floors of the house. So that looked normal to me. But she came back with one bid where the proposal was to remove the moldy drywall and leave. And then the second bid was to clean the entire home top to bottom for about $16,000 because the gentleman stated, obviously, if you have mold near your furnace, it must be circulating everywhere in the entire home. And they wanted the family to leave the home for an extended period of time. And none of that matched what we were seeing on the air quality reports. So we made a decision to get into remediation for that reason. Our clients would come back to us time and again with proposals that were not appropriate, either not enough or way too much, taking out all the drywall in their house when it wasn't necessary. And at that point in time, one of the guys came to me with Goldmorr. And when I watch the videos, I'm skeptical because the marketing videos show how easy it is. You apply it, the mold's gone, everything's great. And the problem with many mold removal systems is if you apply the product, if you take a swab and send it into a laboratory, they still see mold material under a microscope. So you will not pass post-inspection if you're followed up by a hygienist or a mold inspector. So all of us got into an attic with a Goldmorr rep. It was hot that day because I was wearing the big yellow suit with the hood up and everything, and we piled in this attic, and there was a perfect example of cladosporium mold. It looks dark in color, and because it was caused by a very distinct moisture problem, it was only a few joists wide and very dark. So we applied the GM 6000, and as it's being applied, it's erasing the mold staining. We're all like, wow. And one of my technicians was like, this is good. I said, so far it's good, but wait a minute. And I reached down and I grabbed a medical swab and I rubbed the clean area, And I said, I'll decide how I feel about Goldmorr tomorrow when my lab tells me how I feel about Goldmorr. And the next day, the lab report came back, NFG, no fungal growth. So the staining was gone and the mold was gone. And if you look at the surface under a microscope, it's hygienic, it's clean, there's no mold there. So we started to use Goldmorr then. And through the years, when you own a restoration business, you get calls from chemical companies every week. They'd like you to use their product. And one of my number one questions when they call me is, they are giving their presentation. And I'm like, this is great, but I'm a little busy. If I apply your product and then I surface sample it and send it to the lab, will it come back clean? And in every case, they say to me, well, you have to HEPA vacuum, you have to wire brush, you have to do 9 other steps.
6 minutes.
Thank you. That was, I just let her flow because there's so much good stuff in there.